A new month brings a government shutdown. We'll talk with Indiana Senator Jim Banks, Democratic Congressman Andre Carson, and Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman. Plus, a look at the potential impact here in Indiana. Now on this week's edition of In Focus.
Thanks so much for joining us this week, this first week of October, bringing a government shutdown to the nation's capital as Democrats and Republicans try and hammer out a deal to end the shutdown and reopen the government in these very divided times. We'll get reaction from Indiana lawmakers in just a minute, but first here's Rashad Hudson with more from our Washington bureau.
Lawmakers tried and failed to pass a Democratic and Republican bill to reopen the government. Neither had the needed support to move forward. For the first time in nearly 7 years, the federal government is shut down without a clear end in sight.
We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them.
Both sides are pointing the finger over who's to blame.
Well, it ends when the Senate Democrats pick this bill up, passed by the House of Representatives, and vote for it.
Senators rejected a GOP and a Democratic bill to fund the government.
Democrats want to avert this crisis, but Republicans tried to bully us, and it's clear they can't.
At the center of the fight, whether to extend health care tax credits under the Affordable Care Act. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman was one of the few Democrats who broke ranks and sided with Republicans.
I absolutely think we should reconsider some of extending these tax credits, but we shouldn't be shutting the government down.
I caught up with Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville about the shutdown.
Most people are going to be working. Nobody's going to see any cut in their entitlement checks. At the end of the day, really nothing happens when you have a so-called government shutdown.
But Democrats insist the stakes are high.
The moms that I've been talking to are so scared they may not be able to get the Medicaid funding they need.
President Trump has warned that the shutdown could lead to layoffs and cuts to programs that don't align with his priorities. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson, back to you.
Rashad, thanks. There's certainly been some controversy over that. Let's get some reaction now from here in Indiana. Our State House reporter Hannah Adamson spoke with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. She joins us now with a look at what they're saying about this shutdown and the efforts to get the government reopened. Hannah?
Several Indiana Republicans I spoke to say they will not give in to demands to increase spending by more than $1 trillion. Meanwhile, Democrats say they will not, quote unquote, rubber stamp a spending package that could leave Americans without affordable health care. Indiana Republicans say Democrats' demands to expand Biden-era healthcare tax credits was not feasible in such a short amount of time, and that the government should remain open as negotiations take place.
The Democrats are demanding another $1 trillion in new spending that's not reasonable.
Healthcare is just simply out of control, and so I think that's why one of the reasons that we need to address this issue is a long-term fix rather than just a short-term subsidy.
An estimated 750,000 federal workers are expected to be furloughed. Republicans say that means air traffic controllers, members of the military, and Border Patrol agents will have to work for no pay.
The longer this goes, the more pain it's going to inflict on the American people. But quite frankly, we cannot compromise on these demands.
Democrats say Republicans have refused to tackle expanding Biden-era healthcare tax credits, and that letting them expire could leave many Americans without affordable healthcare options.
The economy is already tough. Prices are already high. People simply can't afford to pay $700 more a year simply to get healthcare. That is what is at stake with the government shutdown. And this isn't partisan. This will impact Republican constituents as well.
While mandatory spending like Social Security and WIC payments will continue, Hoosiers in the process of applying for these services will see their applications paused.
Unless you are already receiving those benefits, everything is stopped.
Political science professor Laura Wilson says even though Democrats are needed to pass the short-term spending bill, any final compromise will likely lean in favor of Republicans.
So imagine some sort of compromise likely benefiting the Republican Party, but Democrats may be able to get a few of their agenda items taken care of in that.
Lawmakers I spoke to say they're hopeful the shutdown will end within the week. The last government shutdown in 2018 lasted for 35 days. Reporting from Indianapolis, I'm Hannah Adamson.
All right, Hannah, thanks. Let's get more reaction now from our Indiana delegation, starting with Republican Senator Jim Banks, who spoke with Kristen Eskow from our Washington bureau on Wednesday.
What are your thoughts as we head into this? And it seems like now there's, no end in sight.
Well, it's really disappointing. The Democrats voted yesterday to shut the government down. 3 Democrats in the Senate voted for the CR, but most Democrats voted against it. 55 votes. It takes 60 votes to pass the CR. The House already passed it. So this is really simple. It's a short-term CR, 7 weeks. That gives us more time to negotiate some of the big issues. But Democrats are focused on subsidies for free health care for illegals and the massive Obamacare subsidies, $1 trillion in new spending that they're demanding to get their votes. It's sad because we already have a $38 trillion national debt, and they want to spend more. President Trump and Republicans want to rein in wasteful spending and address deficits in the debt. Hopefully they come to their senses sometime today, reopen the government. Our veterans, our service members, our federal employees, they're all taking the hit because of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats refusing to vote for a short-term CR. By the way, Chuck Schumer voted for this exact same spending level back in March. So what's changed since March? It's all politics for the Democrats, and I hope he changes his mind, does the right thing, and Democrats come on board and pass the CR, reopen the government, and spend the next 7 weeks debating about the big issues.
Senator Jim Banks there. Let's hear from 2 members of the House now on opposite sides of the aisle, starting with Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman from the Fort Wayne area, who spoke with our Hannah Adamson about the shutdown and the subsidies that Democrats have been fighting for.
Again, these subsidies aren't even set to expire until the end of the year. And so Senate Democrats should vote for this bill so we can continue to finish our appropriations process, get the work done. House Republicans have done it. And again, like I said, we just need 6, 7 Democrats on the Senate side to vote yes, and we can move forward.
How concerned are you that federal workers will start being laid off en masse? We're told roughly 4 million or so federal workers could be going to work without pay. That includes air traffic controllers, members of our military, ICE agents. What are your thoughts?
I trust President Trump to keep the government that is essential up and running. But I can tell you too, the federal government's the largest employer in the country, and there's so much bloated and waste in Washington, D.C. that we don't need. There's going to be a lot of Americans today that aren't even going to realize that the government's shut down because life's going to go on pretty much as normal. And it's just simply Washington, D.C. that's up in arms about it because it's their paycheck. Well, we have seen Washington, D.C. Continue to grow and create bigger and bigger government that we just simply don't need. And so I applaud President Trump for cleaning it up. This is a business entity in Washington, D.C. that is too expensive. It's in too much debt. That's the thing too. We have to always keep in context. Is $37 trillion of debt is what our country is facing, and so we need less government right now more than any time ever.
All right, now to the other side of the aisle. This week, Hannah Adamson also spoke with Democratic Congressman Andre Carson, who represents Indianapolis. He was adamant that these health care subsidies are not going to undocumented immigrants, calling that misinformation from the other side of the aisle. Here's what he had to say about the shutdown this week.
I think it's clear that Democrats simply won't rubber stamp a spending package that leaves Americans without health care. Anyone who has had a health scare knows health insurance isn't optional. We absolutely need it for our survival. And if people can't afford to go to a doctor's visit, they essentially won't go. And that leads to problems that could worsen if gone untreated.
How confident are you that ultimately Democrats and Republicans can come together to find some sort of solution?
Listen, I don't want to see a shutdown. No one of sound mind wants to see a shutdown, but Republicans are in charge with control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Democrats have been fighting and negotiating all year to prevent health care cuts. But the people in charge, the Republicans, have refused to protect health care. So We're fighting right now for all Americans to have affordable health care. Instead of negotiating and working with us, Republicans have essentially canceled votes, and they've gone home. Many have gone on vacation instead of holding bipartisan funding talks. It's unacceptable.
Pete Buttigieg visited the Indiana State House a while back to share his thoughts about potential redistricting mid-decade. Your thoughts about his visit and where the redistricting debate remains at this moment in time, where Indiana is concerned?
Well, I thought Pete Buttigieg did an amazing job, as always. As a fellow Hoosier, I think it's clear the polling data has shown, the protests have shown, and even Republican hesitancy has shown people don't want this. And to try to do this in the name of a lame duck president whose popularity is beneath 50% in Indiana and nationwide is not the right way to go. And there will be lawsuits if and when this happens. And so I think we need to leave the districts as they are so we can continue representing our constituents.
Congressman Carson there with our Hannah Adamson. Meantime, this past week, 3 fellow Democrats from the State House held a joint town hall on redistricting. The state reps talking with voters about the issue and its impact here in Indiana, not only to the voting lines, but also how a special session to redistrict could be costly to taxpayers. The town hall coming as state Republicans debate whether or not to redraw congressional lines early after a lot of pressure from the White House. Also this week, an independent audit of the IEDC finds no criminal activity, but does raise a lot of concerns about the agency. Governor Braun ordered the audit when he took office. The 127-page report this week points to, quote, conflicts of interest, inadequate management, and insufficient controls over its governing board. State Rep Ed Delaney spoke about it this week.
It identifies those who had conflicts of interest. It does not tell us how much they made as a result of those conflicts. It doesn't tell us what agency failed to make them do their job. It doesn't tell us why they weren't monitored, but it's a good start.
The Commerce Secretary says all of the recommendations will help ensure the state's economic development strategy is built on the highest standards, and we have more of that report on our website. Also this week, we're getting more reaction to our one-on-one interview from last week with Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith, including a response from the state lawmaker whose wife was allegedly depicted in that AI deepfake video that a former staffer said was being viewed in the LG's office.
Anyone can just come and say, well, I saw something, or I heard something, or this potentially happened in the office, and now we have to then go and prove that it didn't happen. I mean, that you could tie up our entire 4 years as lieutenant governor by just doing that over and over again. And so, to me, I don't want to set that precedent.
If I was running an office and that sort of thing happened, I think I would bring in an individual. I would love to move on too, but I want to move on when every avenue's been exhausted to make sure this does not exist.
We've got more of those interviews on our website. We'll talk about it with our panel coming up as well. Also ahead, we'll talk with the panel about the government shutdown, the impact here in Indiana, and what former governor and former VP Mike Pence is saying about all this. And later, dozens of faith leaders hold a prayer vigil outside the Miami Correctional Facility. You'll hear from them and from the governor straight ahead.